Welcome back to the 2016-2017 NBA preview. Today we are covering the Houston Rockets, ranked number 16. Halfway done with the series. It's crazy. My name is Joshua Envyerz, and with me today is my co-host.
How's it going, guys? It's the king of the fourth quarter. Welcome back to the NBA preview.
So the Houston Rockets, they did an interesting thing in the offseason. But before we talk about that, let's talk about what they did last year. Last year, the Houston Rockets struggled to make the playoffs, being the 8th seed, going up against the Golden State Warriors. The whole Dwight Howard situation at the end of the year, it looked like he just gave up on the team and wanted out. Not only that, they tried to trade away Monsiunas to the Detroit Pistons, but it got rejected because of his physical and, I think, health, right?
Yeah, he was coming off of an injury, and it got to the point where he just couldn't pass the physical.
So he got sent back, and that had to be definitely pretty awkward to be playing on the same team and being in the same locker room that you just got traded away from. So Corey Brewer hit an all-time low as well, showing that he's definitely declined, and they're going to need to replace him as soon as possible.
One thing that's been puzzling to me and pretty much, I guess, basketball fans across the globe is the usage rate for Dwight Howard has been extremely low when he was in Houston, and I think that is kind of the reason he didn't care much. I mean, he went from being one of the most dominant big men in the league to a guy that's not even the second or third option on the team. So it made sense to me that he walked this offseason. But really underused. And a lot of people think that he's washed because of that. But I guess we'll talk about him once we get to Atlanta Hawks.
And then the resurgence of Michael Beasley. Played overseas. I believe he won an MVP overseas as well. Came to the NBA again. The Houston Rockets gave him a chance. And he was able to perform. And now coming into this season, let's see how well he does. Hopefully he can replace Corey Brewer, because Corey Brewer definitely hit a wall. So with that said, moving on to the offseason moves from this Houston Rockets team. The Houston Rockets acquired Eric Gordon, Ryan Anderson, Pablo Prigioni, and Nene, lost Dwight Howard and Terrence Jones, and drafted a few players that probably will not make an impact this season, but one of them being Chinau Onaku at number 37. I completely butchered his name. I do apologize, but this is the man with the funky free throw. Yeah, that's how you'll get to know him.
One of the talk of Summer League because he had the underhand free throw, the granny shot.
Still made more free throws than DeAndre Jordan.
Oh.
So maybe DeAndre has to pick up that granny shot free throw form from him.
When it comes to the offseason, I think they made some nice moves. I think they overpaid for Ryan Anderson, as somebody would. I knew someone's going to give him $20 million a year just because he's a stretch four and he seems to be a nice player. I think $20 million is too much for him. Houston was a place to give it to him, but if he plays well, I guess it'll be worth it in the long run. Now they can space the floor a little bit more. Clint Capella can be down low. He's not really going to be touching the ball much offensively, but they won't be clogging the paint too much because Ryan Anderson will be on the perimeter.
The whole Eric Gordon signing kind of surprises me. I mean, are they going to be playing him at the point guard?
I have no idea. I couldn't tell you. My best guess would be that he's going to come off the bench. I don't know. I think
play backup point guard.
Yeah, I think Patrick Beverley is their point guard. I think they believe in him.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think Eric Gordon is going to be a starting point guard with this team unless Patrick Beverley is hurt. But I was thinking more like, is this man going to play backup behind Patrick Beverley? Because actually, just looking at the backup point guards and the backup shooting guards, it looks kind of weak. So maybe he'll be playing a lot of minutes. They might even play small ball and play Patrick Beverley, James Harden, and Eric Gordon on the court at the same time, if worse comes to worse.
Yeah, unfortunately for Eric Gordon, he's still, it doesn't seem like he will hit his full potential, man. He was a part of the Chris Paul trade, if I'm not mistaken, when he went to New Orleans. So they had high hopes on him when they traded for him. Injuries, of course, has always hit him. He played like 45 games last year. And yeah, he just hasn't hit his full potential. Don't think he ever will. But now he's come to be a backup, it seems like, which is just weird, man. It's just so weird to think about.
Speaking of full potential, we'll talk about this man in a little bit. But before we do, let's go into the rotation. The rotation for this Houston Rockets team, the projected starting lineup looks like Patrick Beverley, James Harden, Trevor Ariza, Ryan Anderson, and Clint Capella, while the bench looks like Pablo Prigioni, Eric Gordon, Corey Brewer, Michael Beasley, and Nene.
I actually like this team, and that's why we have them kind of where they are. I do think this team will make the playoffs, and we'll talk about that a little later. But the team looks good. Actually, I think they look better than last year. Ryan Anderson's actually gonna, hopefully he could play a big enough role for them where he can kind of make some more room for James Harden, because it got to the point last year where a lot of it was like iso ball and people were just standing around as James Harden went to work. Hopefully they can get some more offensive things in there, especially with their new coach.
All right, I feel that. As you guys can see on the transition, there's one man's name who isn't on the bench. And that man's name is KJ McDaniels. If you know KJ McDaniels, he was pretty good with the Philadelphia 76ers a few years back. And then ever since he was traded to the Houston Rockets, he's been riding the bench. Who knows if it's an attitude problem, but I feel like KJ McDaniels is extremely underused with this Houston Rockets team.
So maybe this year, with Corey Brewer, like you said, kind of falling off the face of the planet, he can get more minutes?
Hopefully.
They need that backup small forward, and I agree with you. KJ McDaniels did seem really, really good. Well, not really good, but he seemed like a legitimate player when he was in the Philadelphia. But that's not saying much, because everybody looks good when they play for a team that wins 10 games. So even in Summer League, though, if you watch Summer League this year, he had some points this season where he looked pretty good. So hopefully he can crack the rotation this year.
It was kind of disrespectful that he was like the third string, fourth string shooting guard last season, and it looks to be the same way unless Corey Brewer gets more minutes than him this season. Moving on to the projections for this Houston Rockets team. This Houston Rockets team went 41-41 last season, a 500 team exactly. Over under, where do you see this Houston Rockets team being this year?
I'm gonna go over. A lot of people would think that I'm gonna go over. Not by much. I'm not saying they're gonna be a 50-win team, but I'm gonna go over. A lot of people think that Dwight Howard leaving is going to be a big blow to the team, but his usage rates was so low that I don't think that him leaving is going to make that big of an impact. Clint Capella, I think he'll take that role of not getting the ball, playing defense, and rebounding quite well. I do like the signing, as I mentioned, of Ryan Anderson. I think he was a little overpaid, but I do like him adding to the team along with Eric Gordon. So I'm going to go over. I think the team is a little more complete than they were last year.
Okay. Now, this is an extremely tough situation for me to say over or under. They'll probably win one more game than they did last season and have like a 42-40 record, because this team, although it improved very, very little. I mean, the whole Dwight Howard situation, you don't know if Clint Capella can carry the Dwight Howard load that he had with his team, not getting any touches and just being the rebound machine. But I feel like Clint Capella would do a better job at rebounding than Dwight Howard did, and the whole, the whole chemistry issues with James Harden and Dwight Howard, I feel like that's finally gone. And Dwight Howard it wasn't going to be a good matchup. It was the whole Kobe situation again, where he just wasn't getting enough touches, and he somehow managed to stick it out for multiple years with the Houston Rockets. I guess it finally boiled over, and Dwight Howard went home to the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I think about a lot, I thought about a lot before I said over, is the coaching change. They went from Kevin McHale, who they got fired, to bring in JB Bickerstaff, who I think we can both agree is not an NBA type coach. And now they have Mike D'Antoni, who has shown to be at least offensive savvy. I expect James Harden to have a better season than last year, and that's saying a lot because he had a pretty good year. So that's one of the main reasons I said over. But of course, there are many, many factors in that.
So with that said, these are our projections for this Houston Rockets team. They'll be fighting to make the playoffs, and I feel like looking at the Western Conference, they will be in the playoffs. They'll be in the same position as they were last year, maybe a 7th seed, maybe a 6th seed. They'll be around the area as they were last year. So do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? Let us know in the comment section below. Leave a like on this video if you did enjoy, along with sharing it on any social media, because these videos do take quite some time to make, all the transitions and all the editing, so it'd be greatly appreciated if you showed love. With that said, any last words?
Thank you guys so much for watching. Be looking out for the next episode tomorrow.
Yeah, we're finally in the playoffs.
Yeah, getting good.
We're in the playoffs, halfway done with the NBA preview.